our top 3 attractions inside Disney's Hollywood Studios.
What's up, everybody? Bruce and Connie here from Unlocking the Magic podcast. Today, we're going to share our top 3 attractions after our last visit to Disney's Hollywood Studios.
Excited. We did this on a podcast, but we chose our top 5-ish.
Yes.
We each had our own, but today we're going to narrow them down to only 3. We each get 3 top attractions that we're going to list right here.
A year ago, this would have been challenging. Now, not as challenging. Now it's pretty challenging because there's a lot of great attractions in Hollywood Studios as of late.
Yeah, definitely with Galaxy's Edge and, of course, Toy Story Land. There's a lot to see and do in Hollywood Studios, so
right.
It can be difficult narrowing them down.
By the way, we're doing these questions here on YouTube, these shorter videos for you. If you have a question, text it to us, 978-222-7383, and we'll add it to the list to answer right here on YouTube. So hit that subscribe button if you haven't yet.
All right, here we go. Are we ready?
You, yes.
I'm ready. Okay.
Number 3, work to 1. Number 3.
Number 3 for me is going to be, this is challenging, but I chose Indiana Jones Stunt Spectacular. It's technically a show. We talked about this on the podcast. It's a great experience. Every time we visit, it always puts a smile on my face, and I just feel like it is truly what I remember Hollywood Studios always being, like a little inside of the movie making and just some fun, good old-fashioned fun.
Yeah, I love Indiana Jones. Pro tip, if you do go, and maybe you've been many times, and maybe you're with a family member who doesn't want to go see it again, pro tip, sit somewhere else that you haven't sit in the past. It makes it a whole new experience depending on where you sit.
Indiana Jones, it's scenes from Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's really interactive. You get to potentially be picked as an extra.
That is also true.
Some movie magic that happens behind the scenes. You get to be as an extra and test out your acting chops. Super fun.
Yes. All right. So my number 3 is Slinky Dog Dash. And this is my number 3, not because it's the best attraction in the world, but I have a really fond memory of the first time going on. We went on with our youngest, G, and she was pointing out things along the queue and on the attraction that I had no idea about. She was watching a lot of YouTube videos about Toy Story Land before we went. And the reason that I have a fond memory for Slinky Dog Dash, and it's in my top 3, was because of the experience I had with her. So sometimes the attraction is great, but the experience you have when you're at the parks is what makes it even better.
I totally agree. And the way you describe it makes me feel bad because none of these are about the kids. They're all about me.
That's the only one, actually, for me.
Okay.
So
all right.
Don't feel that bad.
Got it.
Number 2 for you.
Number 2 for me is the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror. I am a huge fan of this attraction. I'm a huge fan of the Twilight Zone in general. So the fact that Walt Disney combined it with one of the most classic TV shows and it made it into an attraction with a full story behind it was really amazing to me. And I still go onto this attraction like I am going back in time and back in the 1940s. And I just love that I love that in general about Hollywood Studios, but this attraction is the centerpiece in my opinion.
This is actually on my number 2 as well.
It is?
Yes.
All right.
Because I think this is one of those attractions that there's always these iconic attractions that you can see from outside of the park.
True.
And it makes you think about going to that park, and it makes you think about your experiences you've had there, like Spaceship Earth or like Tower of Terror. That's one of the ones where you see outside of Hollywood Studios and you're like, oh, I just want to go to Hollywood Studios.
You definitely get that craving.
Yes.
Yeah.
And not only is it a great attraction visually, but the attraction itself is pretty amazing.
Right.
It's one of those attractions that's different almost every time you go on.
I mean, the sequence is different, but also just being in that hotel and you just have that feeling from the moment you arrive from the exterior, but you also, once you're inside, you're like, what happened here? It definitely has that spookiness, but yet that old world Hollywood glam to it that really makes me feel part of the story.
Now, knowing that it's all Imagineered, right? Would you ever want to stay overnight in there?
Yeah.
Would you be afraid?
No.
I don't know. I think I might be afraid, even though I know it's kind of like
You're saying you feel like it's
an
haunted?
attraction. Yeah, I feel like they did such a good job theming it. If I was to stay overnight there, I would be a little hesitant and a little afraid.
I think maybe you should be afraid, but I'm not afraid.
I'm not gonna lie.
Okay.
The other thing that's you can't get ready for the drop because even though you may have been on it 10 times, the sequence is different every time. So there's no preparing for what it's going to be like when you do take that drop.
You really can't. And I feel like even though I feel like even though you do know it's coming, like you said, it's hard to figure out once you're there. Like it surprises me every single time. It's really one of the best. I'm very terrified of the drop. Like, I don't enjoy that sensation per se, but I still manage to laugh afterwards. Like, I feel like super pumped and full of adrenaline when I'm done.
You definitely laugh after, not during. We
Not
definitely
during.
have the photos to prove that you're definitely not laughing. You're a lot crying during it.
Yeah. There's a lot of clenching onto the handle. Like, I need a full body harness when I'm on that to feel really comfortable.
To feel safe enough?
Yeah.
That's probably why they don't give you one. They want you to
That's
feel a
probably
little
true.
unsafe. It's
Yeah.
a little sketchy.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Okay.
Number 1.
Number 1 is Walt Disney Presents. I know I talked about this on the podcast. I'm going to reiterate it here. I think it's an important attraction that everyone must visit. And I the only thing that makes me sad is it's a little deeper in the park. I wish it was a little bit more prominent so that you could go there first. I feel like it's something that really changed everything for me when it came to just experience Disney parks in general. So I love that they have the artifacts there and you get to know Walt Disney himself. You get to see a lot of the projects that he started. You got to see his school desk. I mean, things like that really hit home, and it really makes you feel like you can do anything if you put your mind to it. It's a really good inspirational attraction.
Yeah, we talked about this on the podcast as well, where we did a video. If you haven't seen that video yet, maybe I'll try to link it here, where we talked about why we started this podcast. And this attraction and movie that used to be at the end of it is a main reason of why we started the podcast and why we really fell in love with Disney. Like, his story of, it wasn't always easy for him. He didn't get anything handed to him. He worked for everything and really tried to figure it out as he went. And that really inspired us to learn a little bit more about the history of Walt Disney himself and how the parks got created. And that's really why we started this podcast that you're listening to right now.
Exactly. So that's always going to be my number 1 in Hollywood Studios. And if it ever gets moved to any other park, I feel like it would be on my number 1 list.
They should have a museum or some sort of smaller version of this at every single park that you have to walk through about why that park exists, because every park has some theming with Walt Disney. He loved animals. He loved the future. He obviously created the best movies and was a great storyteller. You should have to have some sort of education before you get into a park about him in order to appreciate it more.
Is that your number 1 too?
No, my number 1 is Rise of the Resistance. That being said.
Yeah. That being said, I mean, we probably wouldn't be a top list if we couldn't include one of the most cutting edge attractions ever created.
Yes, you get a lot of hype with these attractions when they open.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of them that exceed your expectations, because as a Disney fan, you obviously have high expectations of what they can do.
Not only that, but we're living in the year 2020, right? And so with your imagination, you probably could think and dream of big things. So when you go into a Disney park with anything new, the sky really is a limit nowadays.
Right.
I mean, we're talking about going to Mars,
Yes.
so you really have these high expectations. Understandably.
Yes, so this is one of those attractions that I actually went on.
Yeah.
And it exceeded my expectations, which is really hard to do. Because I go into
it's hard.
Actually, you know what? It's not that hard, because I go into everything with low expectations, but except this one. I went in with high expectations on this one, and it exceeded it. So it's an amazing attraction. Visually, what they did, the attraction itself, the audio animatronics.
You're part of the story.
Yes.
Like, when you get there, you really feel like there is a mission you have to accomplish. And that, again, it's not just the visuals of this attraction, but it's also the fact that you get that feeling of like being part of something bigger.
Right.
And I feel like that is Disney right there.
And there's something to the exclusivity of it that you may not get a chance to go on it.
That's
and
that.
if you do, you're only going on it one time. So soak it up and enjoy the ride.
VIP.
Yeah, so that has a little bit to do it as well. So that's why it was on my number 1. If you haven't had a chance yet, obviously it's a little tricky to get on, but I highly suggest you try. Even if you have to get up early, it's worth the wait.
What if it's raining?
No, it's not worth it.
What if it's raining and 40 degrees?
Definitely not worth it. Sorry about that.
And you're with Connie.
Forget what I just said all right now.
Okay.
Anyway, that was our top 3. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you have a question, we'll answer it on our YouTube channel. Text it to us, 978-222-7383. Those texts go right to us. It's not a company. We'll respond to them. Text us. We'll have a conversation. We'll hang out. Do that. 978-222-7383.
Right. That's it.
That's it. Hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you on the next video.